I used to babysit for a family in my neighborhood when I was around 19. They had 2 kids, I think they were 6 and 4. One night I was watching them while their parents went out for dinner. Nothing out of the ordinary, just a normal Saturday night. Before bed, we were in the living room messing around with their toys. One of them had one of those little xylophone toys with the colored bars and the plastic mallet. The older one was just hitting it randomly, so I showed him how to play a simple part of a song. Not even the whole thing, just enough that it actually sounded like something instead of noise. He kept trying it over and over and thought it was the coolest thing. After a while, I took them back to their room to get ready for bed. They wanted me to stay in there while they fell asleep, so I sat on the floor by the beds and started reading one of their books to them. Everything was fine for a few minutes. Then we heard the xylophone. It was coming from down the hall, like from the living room where we were earlier. At first, it was just a couple random notes, like someone tapping it without really trying to play anything. Then it turned into the same little part of the song I had just shown him earlier. Not the exact same, but close enough that it wasn't random. Both of them looked at me right away. One of them asked who was out there. I didn't answer right away because I honestly didn't know what to say. I just kind of said, "It's probably nothing," and kept reading. But I wasn't really paying attention to the book anymore. It stopped after a few seconds. Neither of them wanted to leave the room after that, and I definitely wasn't about to go check. I just stayed in there with them until I heard their parents come home. When they got back, I told them what happened. I wasn't even trying to make it sound scary. I just said we heard the toy being played while we were all back in the bedroom. They both kind of paused when I said that. Then the mom noticed the basement door was slightly open and asked me if I had taken them down there. I said no. She said they both know not to open that door, and she was pretty sure it was closed earlier. The dad went over and looked at it, then opened it the rest of the way and went downstairs. At first it was quiet. Then, after maybe a minute or two, we heard some kind of movement, like a quick scuffle or something getting knocked over. Then he yelled up the stairs and told the mom to call the police. He didn't sound panicked, just serious. Their dad was tall and what I would call muscular, so if somebody was down there and smaller than him, I'm sure he would be able to handle himself. The mom called right away. When the cops got there, she told me to go back in the room with the boys and stay there. I never even saw the person they brought out. I don't know what he looked like or anything about him, which honestly makes it worse. After everything, they told me the back sliding glass door was unlocked, and that's probably how he got in. They didn't know how long he had been there or what he was planning to do. I still think about it sometimes, because that means while we were all sitting in that room, he was somewhere else in the house, and we only noticed because he started playing with one of their toys. This happened a few years ago. It was late afternoon, like 6 p.m. My husband was still at work, and our kids were at my sister's house for the night, so I had the house to myself for a bit. I remember thinking I was going to actually relax for once, so I grabbed my book and decided to take a bath. We have a 2-story house, and our bedroom is upstairs. The bathroom in our room has those double French doors. Before I started the bath, I locked the bedroom door. Then I locked the French doors to the bathroom. I just didn't want to be bothered and liked knowing everything was shut. We have 2 German Shepherds, Sarge and Cap. My husband always liked the idea of having 2 big, protective dogs. I used to think it was kind of overkill, but I loved them anyway, probably more than he did. I got in the tub and was just sitting there reading. After a few minutes, both of them suddenly got up. Right after that, I heard the garage door open. Our garage is directly under our bedroom, so you can hear it pretty clearly. Then I heard the door from the garage into the house shut. I just assumed it was my husband coming home early. I didn't think much of it. I figured he would come upstairs, try to come in the bedroom door, realize it was locked, and then call out to me or something. Instead, I heard the bedroom door open. That's when I paused. Before I could even really process that, Cap's ears went straight up and he walked over to the bathroom doors. He started sniffing under the door and then did this low, mean growl I've honestly never heard from him before. They don't bark, they almost never growl either, so that immediately made me feel off. At that point, I just froze for a second in the tub. Then Sarge got up too. He went over to the door, sniffed under it, and then started pacing back and forth, like he wanted me to open it so he could get out there. Both of them were focused on the same spot. That's when I started getting scared. I slowly got out of the tub, trying not to make a lot of noise, and put my robe on. The whole time they're still at the door, low growling, staring at the bottom like something is right on the other side. Cap let out this deep bark that made me jump a little. I've never heard that bark from either one of them. I walked over and got down near the door to look under it through the crack. And right there I could see a pair of white tennis shoes, just standing there facing the door. I knew immediately they weren't my husband's. That's when I really started panicking. I didn't have my phone with me. I left it in the bedroom, so I just stayed there in the bathroom. I had a small pair of scissors in the drawer, but I didn't know how much I would be able to do with them. I didn't say anything. I didn't move. I just sat there with the dogs panicking quietly to myself. After a while, the growling stopped. They both just laid down right by the door. I didn't hear anything else and was too scared to check again. No footsteps, nothing. I stayed in there until my husband actually got home about an hour later. When I told him what happened, he immediately checked the whole house. He didn't find anything. No one was there. No signs that anyone had been inside. Every door was still locked. To this day, I don't have an explanation for it, but I know what I saw, and whatever or whoever was standing on the other side of that door was not my husband. I live in Baltimore, and there are a lot of old factory buildings here that have been turned into loft apartments. A few years back, my partner and I were looking for a new apartment and found a place in one of those converted buildings. It was on the second floor, not huge, but it looked really nice for the price. I remember looking into the building a little bit before we moved in and finding out it had been around since the early 1800s and had gone through a bunch of different uses over time. There had also been a few major fires there over the years with people dying, but I didn't really think much of it after that. We lived there for a while without anything happening. Then a couple moved into the unit directly below us. Within 3 days, there was this loud screaming and crashing noise coming from their apartment around midnight. It went on for a short time and then just stopped completely. The next day, we found out it had been a murder-suicide. Neither of us are really easy to scare, but after that, and after having to give a statement because I apparently heard most of it, we decided to move somewhere else in the city. We didn't go back to that building for years. Then, about 5 years later, our lease was up at our new house, and we decided not to renew there. I ended up calling the old building manager from that same complex just to see if anything was available. It's a huge property with multiple units, and we figured at least we knew what we were getting. She found us a really nice unit on the first floor this time, with a nice view of the garden area. More importantly, we ended up in Unit 1103. The murder-suicide was in Unit 1105, so it was pretty ironic that we were that close to the apartment that caused us to leave in the first place. But there was an apartment in between, so we felt that that was enough distance. The building entrance door was also in the opposite direction of 1105, so we never had to pass it to leave or come home. About a year later, our next-door neighbor in 1104, who was really nice and we had talked to her a few times, committed suicide. I was there when they found her, but I stayed back and didn't go inside. Later on, it hit me that she had been dead for a couple of days before anyone found her, according to what the maintenance man told me. And during those days, we definitely heard things coming from her apartment. One night, her TV was on really loud for about 30 minutes, loud enough that we both noticed it and were kind of wondering why she had it turned up like that. The next day, we were eating dinner and heard her balcony door open, We didn't think anything of it at the time, since everyone goes on their balconies. It was just normal apartment noise, or at least that's what we told ourselves. But looking back, there shouldn't have been anyone in there. It was officially ruled a suicide and nothing else really came of it, but we never got an explanation for the noise. We moved out almost immediately after that and haven't been back since. I still think about it sometimes. Not even about what happened to her, but about those 2 days after. Because if she was already gone, then I don't know who was in that apartment and why.